In today's video, we're going to talk about the effects of hysterectomies on the digestive process. If you're sitting there wondering if your digestive process is a little different after your hysterectomy, you're not alone, and I'm going to cover the reasons why it is different and also talk about some things you can do to make it better. Stay tuned. Hi folks, welcome to Natural Health Resources. I'm Melissa Gallagher. I'm a natural doctor and I work with men and women in hormone balancing, and I'm a specialist in post-surgical care. If you are post-hysterectomy, please check out my post-surgical healing guide. It's actually 2 weeks before surgery and 16 weeks after, so full 18 weeks. I detail all of the important things that you need to know to get your body healing, minimize swelling, and address the removal, or I call it an amputation, of a really core organ in your body and in your abdominal cavity. So I want to get right into this. This was a question that came up actually in a social dialogue I had recently with a good friend of mine from high school who underwent a hysterectomy about a year ago. And she asked me very boldly, and this is a topic that a lot of people don't like to talk about, and that's actually one of my specialties. I talk about a lot of stuff that might make people uncomfortable, so I apologize if any of this does to you. That's my little warning. We're going to get graphic and detailed. But my friend asked me if it was common for her to have digestive irregularity. So constipation, was that normal after hysterectomy? And so what I told her is what I thought, I think there's a lot of viewers probably watching this or coming to my channel, which I hope you'll subscribe and welcome to my tribe. But I think there's probably a lot of people that need to know this. And her doctor, she told her, it's just regular. It's something that totally happens all the time, but didn't give her any solutions and made her feel stupid. So we all know how that goes. That's awful. And I want to really impart some knowledge that hopefully will help you today. So as far as hysterectomy goes, hysterectomies, there's really two kind of forms. There's a full, where the ovaries and the actual uterus are removed, and then there's partial, where a uterus is removed. Sometimes there might be one ovary and a uterus, but essentially what happens is with the removal, a lot of times now they're laparoscopic, they're micro incisions, maybe 4 to 5, camera oriented, and there are a lot of entry points. Sometimes there's a vaginal removal, sometimes it's a removal through an incision site. But regardless of what was removed, whatever, the reality is that when we remove an organ like a uterus, just the anatomy and the physical location of the uterus causes an emptiness in the abdominal cavity. So if you have had a hysterectomy, a lot of times the things that will cause a hysterectomy are cysts and fibroids of the uterus. I created a video to address cysts and fibroids in the uterus so that women can minimize hysterectomy experiences. But if you have had it, more than likely your doctor encouraged you to have a hysterectomy because of fibroids, really intense, heavy bleeding that causes anemia and really severe cramping and just life-changing experiences with your cycle. A lot of women have hormonal imbalances when they're perimenopausal and menopausal. That yields a hysterectomy. Others are having hysterectomies because the BRACA test came through positive. So there might be a breast and uterus connection, and they have full or partial hysterectomies. However you got to this point, I want to communicate that there is a digestive link and a digestive connection when the uterus is removed. And the uterus is much smaller. It's much smaller than my fist. But you just think about this cavity, like this space. Actually, I have a better example. This is kind of what the uterus would look like in cavity. So it expands obviously to a much bigger form. If you are pregnant and having been pregnant and delivered, it's crazy. It literally gets like almost up to into your rib cage. But this would be about the size of your uterus. When this is removed, just the way the anatomy works is the digestive system, colon, and some of the rectum, depending on your structure. You remove this uterus, this starts to flatten out and it kind of bows in. So what does that mean? That means your digestive system, the structure has changed. Sometimes that structure causes constipation because it's not flowing the right way. So instead of being flat, it bows in. Then it can expand with waste. And we were talking, there is a stat, not everybody has this, but an average American can hold 40 pounds of human waste in their abdominal cavity. That's shocking, right? I mean, if you've gained 5 or 10 pounds, it might not be water weight after your surgery. It might be waste product. And the challenge with that part of the colon, the large intestine that sat above or in that space, now it's taking up where the uterus was, there is vascular connectivity to the liver. And if the waste is not moving properly, there's toxicity that's being picked up by the blood flow. There are hemorrhoidal veins that are connected to our liver, and then we're processing more hormones like estrogen and progesterone, cholesterol. Those are all things that are getting recycled through that vascular connectivity from stalled waste. And I say stalled because it's not moving, it's stuck, and it's stuck in a stalled state. So there are some things you can do. The first and most important thing for you to get, and I'm going to create a list. So I'll detail this in detail, and then I'm going to have a specific Amazon page where you can buy all of these line items. So it'll all be housed in one page. But I'm going to link that down below. The first and most important thing is magnesium. Magnesium is really crucial for moving the digestive process. It's also going to be crucial in your post-surgical healing. And if you check out my guide, that's one of the core elements through all 18 weeks. But the magnesium will help get things moving. It should lubricate your system so that if there is some lubrication issues, which is common after surgery, you might not be feeling well, you might not be hydrating like you used to, you might not be as active as you felt like it. That's very common. And so magnesium is really crucial. The other thing that is going to be really essential is for us to look at detoxing your liver. We want to get the liver producing more bile, which is this amazing sudsing agent that moves waste through the digestive process. That is also a very healing agent. Anytime there is any type of amputation of an organ in and around that lower abdominal cavity, that may cause a little sinking and settling, if you will, of the digestive tract, the digestive lining, your small, your large intestine. Those all kind of settle into these empty spaces. It's not like they stick gauze in there as a marker for that now missing organ. So that is going to be key. I like to incorporate dandelion. I love dandelion tea. A lot of you have watched my digestive videos and my hormone balancing. I love roasted dandelion tea from Traditional Medicinals. You don't have to worry about plastic being leached into your tea because their tea bags are actually really good natural materials, and the rooted flavor is very similar to coffee for a lot of the coffee lovers. Which leads me to number 3. If you're consuming coffee, I would say try to give that up if you can, because long term, some of the ill effects, long-term digestive effects of a removal of a uterus and the digestive lining, we see more cases of diverticulitis or diverticulum. Basically, it's like, you have kind of white heads and black heads in the pores on your nose. We have pores, if you will, in our digestive lining. Sometimes those pores open up and they actually hold toxic waste, our waste products. So balancing your liver and getting magnesium will help kind of move things out. But coffee can irritate the lining of the intestine and can cause diverticulum to develop. So these little pockets that then hold waste. And the other thing that I have found longer term, so women that I work with in their 70s, late 60s, 70s, 80s, and even early 90s that have had hysterectomies in their 40s to 60s, which is a really common time for that, they tend to have more cases of diverticulum or diverticulitis. And when they're consuming coffee, the heat on the stomach triggers this kind of digestive flow. So it almost mirrors IBS, where they might have some fecal incontinence, which is something you don't want to deal with. But if you do, coffee is something you want to remove from your diet. The other thing too, depending on if there was a removal through the incision site or through the vaginal canal, there can be some vaginal irritation. If there's some cases where the cervix is removed and some cases where the cervix is not. It kind of depends on your surgeon, their training, their expertise. If the cervix was removed, you're probably going to be looking at requiring some sort of lubricating cream, like a suppository, to help balance the flora of the vaginal lining and to make sure that we're as lubricated as we can through sexual intercourse or even just natural flow. Sometimes that removal will offset the hormone balance. The other thing that's really crucial for digestive balancing is going to be your omega-3s. I love flaxseed, freshly ground flaxseed. It gives you good fibrous content, so it has soluble and insoluble fiber. It has your omegas, and it's really good for moving things through the digester process. So I get a lot of questions. Actually, I had a question earlier this morning. How much fiber should I get into my diet? Ideally, I like women to be consuming 35 to 40 grams of fiber. The average American is consuming 8 to 9 grams. That's not a lot. So quadrupling that or tripling that is sometimes hard. So I like to get my fiber naturally through legumes and greens, whole greens. Not always juicing do you get your green fibrous content. Eating fibrous fruits and some of our good natural ancient grains like flax and chia seeds. So that's another good way to get some lubrication going. Then there are some Chinese herbs, and I will be linking those on that Amazon page that are really good for enhancing the viscosity, the movement, and the structural lining of the digestive system. It keeps it intact, it supports it, and it ensures that it's at its strongest level. So I'll include those herbs. I don't have any of the bottles here in my home office, but they're really great for a lot of the folks that I work with. So if you're sitting here and you have undergone a partial or full hysterectomy, and you're having digestive issues, you're not alone, and it's totally common. And I hope you will utilize some of these tips and implement them. You can do it slowly or you can go gangbusters. That link to the page with all the Amazon links is down below in my description box. If you have any other specific questions related to hormone imbalance after hysterectomy or even post-surgical care, please send us, this community here at Natural Health Resources, send us a little message. Let us know how you're doing, your experiences, and even what products or tips have worked for you. So I welcome that communication and dialogue. And again, I want to thank you for tuning in to Natural Health Resources here on YouTube. I'm grateful for your time. And please stay tuned to my next video where I'm going to be talking about specifically sinus drainage to get over the cold and flu season easily. Stay tuned, friends. Have a great day.